This conference will now be recorded.
All right, let's understand an example of array and array list. Okay. In the previous session, we understand the importance of collections and array versus array list. I mean, array versus collections. Now let's see an example of how array works and how array list works. Array list is an example of collections, right? Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to take an integer array. I'm going to take an integer array, say x, and new integer of size I'm taking 5. I'm taking size of 5. This is what my integer array. Integer array. Now I would like to add numbers to this 5 elements to this integer array. So I'm going to, yeah, I can take a loop and I can do it. Directly you can just say x of 0, x of 1, x of 2 like that. But now I'm just going this one 0 int I equal to 0, I less than x dot array length, x dot length I plus plus. And what I do here is x of I equal to I'm just initializing the values with I into 10 or I plus 1 into 10. So meaning that what it's going to be 0 plus 1 into 10 10. So the 10 element I'm assigning into x of 0. X of 0 will be 10, x of 1 will be 20, x of 2 will be 30, 40, 50. It goes like that. That's how I'm initializing it. Okay, so this is adding the elements. Okay, this is adding the elements to the array. How many elements I can add? 5 elements, and this works well. So if you print this, okay, if you print this, the same logic per int I equal to 0, I less than x dot length I plus plus. I'm just printing that. What I want to print is x of I. Okay, so this is what reading and writing. Okay, so I have created an array and I'm just accessing the array. Run this. Okay, so why nothing is print? Nothing. Oh my bad. Come on. Okay, so you can see the data 10, 20, 30, 40. So this is what the logic you will have to write to add, okay, 5 numbers to your array. The same thing I would like to work with the array list. Okay, so as I said in the previous session, I always prefer to write the object creations in this way. Always recommendable. Super interface is equal to class object. Okay, so anyhow, this is about generics. We'll discuss later. So list L equal to new array list. List is util list, java.util list. Array list is also java.util.array list. Right. So here now I wanted to add the numbers. So what I do is the same loop here. Okay. So there is no limit here. So you can give how many elements you wanted to add. You can add those many number of elements. Okay. So I wanted to add 5. Yes, I can add it. So here instead of this, I just need to use the list method called add of this particular element. So this is a utility method. Add is a utility method that will add this particular element to the collection array list. Okay, to the collection array list. This is what using array list, and I wanted to print it. Okay, so now, so I have some enhanced for loop here. I can make use of that. So here my array list is L, and in that I have integer objects. So we'll have to take the variable name as X, just to print the X. So why the error? Duplicate variable. Okay, element I'll take. I'm just renaming the variable name. That's all. Okay, so what is this guy? Type mismatch cannot convert element of object into integer because so this array list is taking it can add like any kind of element. It accepts any kind of element, but however I have added integers only. But to ensure that, okay, to ensure that okay, add only integer elements, nothing else. Okay, don't add any other elements, only allow to add integers, so here we can make use of, okay, make use of generic concept. So this ensure that, okay, it will allow to add only integer elements. If you try to add any other than integer, it's going to give you error. That's what, to restrict the type, as ArrayList allows to add any type of elements. However, we have an option of restriction to allow only to add integer numbers. So now here, if I say add of string, so this gives me error. So you cannot add a string because you specified that this list allows only integer. That is the purpose of generic. Yeah, we'll discuss more about the generics. Okay, so it has a lot of stuff. We'll discuss about that in a separate topic. Okay, so now you can execute this and see. It's going to print. So 50. It's printing 50 up to 50. Why? Oh, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, again 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So this is for printing what? Using array list. Okay, using array list. So why are we writing this, by the way? So just to understand the differences between array and array list. Okay, array and array list. As of now, both are working in the same way, right? So now, so I would like to add one more element to my array list. I would like to add one more element to my array list. So can I add that? Say for example 60. Yes, I can add that. I can add one more element. Then so go back to the array. What is the array? X. X of, okay, X of, I wanted to add one more element to this uh, array. So already the size of array is 5. Okay, the size of array is 5. So as index starts from 0, so whatever the element I'm going to add is at the index of length. Okay, so 60 I am adding. X of x dot length equals 60. X dot length is what? 5, meaning that x of 5. X of 5 is what? Give me a second. right? So I have added one element to the array and array list. Now see how these are going to work. Run. Can you see now? So array list is added happily the extra element and printed. But when you try to add the element to the end array, so it has given an exception, array index out of bounds exception, meaning that the array size is fixed. The array size is fixed to 5. So we can add only 5 elements. We can add only 5 elements, and here we are trying to add sixth element. Okay, so in the array 10, 20, 30, 40, 55 elements are already added. So now you are trying to add sixth element, which is where you got array index out of bounds exception, meaning that arrays are fixed in size. So once you declare your array size, you can add only those many elements. Out of it, you cannot add any more elements further. But here, if you look at, okay, in the array list, we can add as many number of elements as you want. It doesn't restrict anything. Okay, you can add 70, you can add 80, any number of elements you can add. Okay, there is no restriction. So here I'm just giving 50, not 5. Okay, so just add these many number of elements. Of course, happily it takes everything. So now you can see that. Okay, you can see that. So all the elements are added 50 times. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, one time. 10, 10, 10, it's going to increase. Okay, so it is up to 500, then 60 and 70 is also added. For array it is failed. Okay, so that's what the point. So array list is growable in nature. Array list is growable in nature, meaning that once it has reached its capacity, it will resize it automatically when you try to add extra element. Okay, so what is the default capacity of array list? What is the default capacity of array list? And I have shown you how to look at the source code anyhow. So just click on this in the Eclipse array list, and you must be adding JDK, Java Development Kit source file. So you have in your Java, you will have source file. That source file you will have to attach to this. Then only you would be able to. Then only you will be able to see the source code. Otherwise, you will be getting the jar file saying that okay, it just show the abstract level classes and variables and method names, but not the entire source code. So you have to attach the source zip file to this. Okay. Now, so you can see the array list constructor. When you create a new array list, using this constructor, using this array list constructor, okay, it is going to initialize this particular size. So to what the default capacity. So what is the default capacity? Empty element data. Okay, this is going to be empty element. Then one, it is going to add the data. Okay, so initial capacity you can give however you want. Also, there is the initial capacity factor. This is what default capacity. Default capacity is what 10. So this is the default capacity will be used when this going to calculate the capacity to change. So this is what the default capacity. Default capacity is 10, meaning that it creates contiguous memory blocks for 10 cells, 10 to store 10 values, 10 objects. Okay, when you try to add 11th element, 11th object, when you try to add 11th object, so the size is going to resize. So it is going to resize. So you have 10 the initial size. Okay, just imagine that you have 10 here. Okay, so once it is reached the 10 elements, and when you try to add 11th element, what happens? This is going to resize. It's going to resize. It's going to resize. So then what is the capacity of this array list after resize? What is the capacity of this after resize? That is what there is a formula for that. Okay, so the resize formula is, so the initial capacity, I mean the current capacity, not initial capacity. So the current capacity for the first time, the current capacity is nothing but initial capacity into 3 by 2. That's what 1.5. Okay, this is what the formula given. Okay, plus 1, plus 1. This is what the formula. So initial capacity is what, 10. So into 3 by 2, nothing but 1.5. So 1.5 is what? So 15, we are going to get 15 plus 1. 15 plus 1, 16. So it is going to create the size of 16. 16. So you can add 16 elements for further. That is what. It is not going to create 1,000 blocks or 10,000 blocks initially. It doesn't waste memory. So it just creates only 10. And once you added 10 elements, still if you have more elements, then it is going to resize. And again, so um, not a bigger one. So whatever the current size, 60% of that size is going to increment. Right? So that's what 10 plus 16 you are going to get. Okay. So now the next, once you added 16 elements, then you try to add 17th element, then it is going to resize it again. So 16 into 1.5 plus 1. Okay, 16 plus 1.5 into plus 1. So 16 plus 8, 24 plus 1, 25. The next capacity is 25. So in this way, it is going to grow automatically. So that is the reason we say, okay, array list is growable in nature. Array list is growable in nature. Growable in nature. Okay, array is fixed in size. Fixed in size. Hope you understand very clearly about this difference, right? So array and array list. So one is fixed in size, one is like it's growable in nature. It's not fixed. Hope you understand. So but when you know that, okay, there are fixed number of elements and nothing more, nothing less, then you can go by arrays only, not array list or anything else. Okay. And out of it, okay, what are the other advantages that we are going to get with the collections? Okay, what are the other advantages that I'm going to get with the collections? So here, if you look at this is what my array. For example, I wanted to sort this. Okay, I wanted to sort the array. Then what I had to do, I had to write my own logic or not, sorting logic. So take a for loop and maybe in different ways. There are different approaches, like we have different sorting algorithms, right? Insertion sort, bubble sort, quick sort, right? So you can follow any one of them algorithms to implement the logic to sort this particular array. Okay, so you have to write logic. Developer needs to implement the sort logic on arrays. Okay, but if you come to array list, okay, so uh, we have provisions, okay, we have provisions to sort it. So there is something called collections, okay, collections, and inside that I have a method called sort method where you can give your list. Where you can give your list. This is going to sort your data. This is going to sort your data. Simple one line. So why do I want to worry about that whole logic of another extra 10 lines of code? So whereas I have already existing methods, API available, methods are available. Okay. For example, I wanted to delete some element from the list. So do I have, yeah, so we have an option to remove it. So whatever the object you wanted to remove, you can remove it from that simply. Okay, you can remove it. But if you want to remove an element from array, so again we'll have to write the logic or not. So you have to okay, you have to iterate through this array. When the element is a match to delete, you will have to remove that and you have to rearrange the size. You have to rearrange the size. That is again extra burden on the developer. Right? So that is, so for insertion in between, I wanted to add one element in a second position or third position in between. So again, I'll have to iterate through this array, and whenever the index is matched, I'm going to insert that element, and again I have to swap all the remaining elements. You understand? So everything we have to implement the logic. So there are no utilities. That's what, if you look at the collections, for each and everything we have a lot many utility methods available. So many utility methods available. You do not have to worry about the underlying logic. You just use that. What you have to know is, okay, so for this my requirement, what I have to use and how I have to use. And that much you have to learn about the collections. All right. Okay, so yeah, turn this back to 5, run this, and after this, let me print list. So I'm just, even one more thing, right? To print this list, right? You do not have to iterate through this like this. Directly, you can give the reference. If I give the reference, of course, it's going to print the same list. Okay, see that now. I do not have to iterate through also for just printing logic. Okay, so now if you look at okay, this is giving error. Let me comment that portion. Where is that? Here. This is what giving error. So just comment out that. I got one more error. Where is that? Index 10 size is 7. What is that? Remove off. Okay, it is taking the index position as 10. Okay, let me give fifth. Let me remove fifth element. I mean fifth indexed value. So now it is deleted the fifth indexed value. The fifth indexed value is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 60 is the fifth element indexed value, and that is deleted. And it is printing all the data or not? Just enough to print L. You do not have to iterate through them. Okay, until unless you have a further logic on the iteration process. If for just printing, you can just print L. You do not have to use for loop. All right. Okay, so are you clear till now? Are you clear? Any questions? Okay, good. So now let's understand more utility methods that are available in the array list. And we know already, so array list is a class. Array list is a class. Array list is a class implemented by, okay, implementing what? Implementing list interface. Okay, so list is an interface and array list is a class. As this class is implementing this interface, of course, the array list must be implemented all the available methods in the list interface, because interface doesn't have implementations. They are abstract methods. That methods must be implemented by its implemented class array list. So all the methods available in the list are implemented in the array list. So now if you go back to list interface, okay, so click on this list interface. Okay, this is what interface. It is introduced in 1.2 and it is extended by collection. Collection is the root interface. Collection is the root interface and it is extended by iterable. We'll speak about this iterable again soon. Okay, to iterate the elements. This helps to iterate through the elements, collection elements. Now just think about the collection. List is extended by collection. So as it is extending, so an interface can extend what? Another interface. So this is also an interface. Collection is also an interface. Okay, right. So come back to this. What are the methods available here? Size. Okay. So this is going to give you how many elements are there in the list. And is empty. This is a utility method to check whether my list is having any elements or not, are just empty list. This is also most used. These methods are most useful while while developing something. So these are most commonly used methods. Size is empty, contains, iterator, then to array. This helps to convert if you have a requirement to convert your array list into array again back to array. This method is going to help, and this is going to return object array. Okay, so to array. Okay, so like this, if you see, there are a number of methods: add method, remove method, okay, contains all, add all, remove all, retain all, okay, replace all. So many utility methods. Okay, so sort, you have sort logic in the list directly. You can directly use sort also, meaning that. So here I have used collections.sort, right? Where is that? So instead of that, I have a sort method on list also. So we can make use of that, but still why the error is because it doesn't expect any. Okay, as you have a sort method available, yes, you can make use of it, but what it is expecting, you will have to pass it. Okay. Okay, so just click on that sort. Yeah, it requires a comparator. Okay, I will have to speak about this comparator and all. Okay. So for now, let's stick with this. Okay. So there is a comparator concept for sorting, for customized sorting. Okay, so we'll have to discuss that again in a separate session. Okay. Now, so sort method, clear method, equals method, hash code, get, set, add, so many, right? So remove, just control O. There is a shortcut to view all the available methods, like control O. In Eclipse, if you say control plus O, you can see all the methods. Okay, so get, set, add, remove, index, list iterator, okay, sub list, split iterator. These many methods are available. So it depends on your requirement, which method is suitable for you. You will have to uh, use that. We'll have to use that. That's all. Okay, we'll have to use that. So multiple methods you have. Right. Back to this. Let me take new file. Let me create a new class, array list example only. Okay, so for these collections, right, there are few fundamental characteristics. Okay, so we will speak all the fundamental characteristics with respect to each and every collection. So what are the characteristics? Okay, let me write it over here. So the is your collection allows, okay, duplicate elements or not. Duplicate elements are allowed or not. That is one characteristics. Okay, is your collection allows duplicate elements? Okay, is your collection follows the same order while you are accessing it, whatever the order you have followed to insert? So are you going to get the same order when you are accessing it? So that is what order, insertion order is preserved or not. Insertion order is insertion order is preserved. is insertion order is preserved, then so is it going to allow only homogeneous or heterogeneous? So of course all the collections will accept by default, it accepts a heterogeneous objects, meaning that different type of elements. You can add integer, you can add string, you can add student, anything you can add. So allows heterogeneous elements are not. And can I add by any region? So I'm selecting some data from database and adding to the array list. For some reason, the database is returning null. I mean, there is no record. So in that case, so my logic I cannot change every time, right? So while writing the code, so I'll have to ensure that my array list should also accept null values if there is a case. So there are cases. So is that null insertion is allowed or not? Null insertion is allowed or not? Okay, null insertion is allowed or not? So that is what uh, different characters. Okay, so does it follow any sorting by default? I mean, does it implements automatically any sorting? So is it sorted or not? So sorted, the collection is sorted or not? So these are the characteristics, collection characteristics. Okay, so with respect to all these, how Arraylist is going to work, how linked list is going to work, how hash set is going to work. So we'll discuss each and everything. Okay, now as part of this program, let me create array list, new array list. Okay, new array list. So both of them from the util package, java.util package. Now, LDAT, what is the first thing? Duplicate elements are allowed or not? Okay, first let me add values. I'm adding 10. So again, adding a 20. Okay, now can I add 10 again? This is the duplicate. Okay, this is the duplicate. I'm just printing L. If I print L, yes, it will print all the elements of the list. Run this now. So see that 10 20 10. So yeah, it is consisting, like it is considering the duplicate element or not. You can see both the tens. So meaning that array list allows duplicate elements are allowed, yes. Okay, yes, for array list. Okay, insertion order is preserved or not? Insertion order is preserved in the sense whatever the order you are inserting, you should follow the same order. So L dot add, so let me add 1. L dot add of, let me add 5. So I have added in different order, not either ascending order or descending order. It's a random order. Okay, there is no particular order. So see that I'm expecting to see 10 20 10 1 5. Is it going to give me the same thing? 10 20 10 1 5, right? So meaning that whatever order you insert in array list, you can see the same order while you are accessing. So yes, insertion order is preserved for array list. Okay, insertion order is preserved for array list. Allows heterogeneous elements are not. Meaning what? So can I add a string? Yes. Can I add a boolean? Can I add a float? Okay, so can I add a custom class? Yes, still I can add. I'll dot add a new. You have array list example. This one. Let me create object for this. Or I think dog, cat. I have objects. Okay, let me take dog object. So okay, it expecting parameters. Okay, let me take cat then. I remember I have created a cat class. Okay, so now run this. So it allows or not? It is allowing all basic primitive values and even customized object also. So meaning that you can add any kind of objects to your array list. Okay, so that is what the point. You can add heterogeneous elements also in array list. Then null insertion is possible or not? Can I add a null value to this? Null. So this is what the null in Java. Okay. So can I add null value? So of course there is no error. So even in runtime also there will not be any error. So you can see happily the null is inserted here. Okay. Null is added. So null insertion is possible or not? So null insertion is possible. Yes, of course. Okay, sorted. So is it sorting by default? No. Whatever the order I have entered, so it is giving the same order. So meaning that it is not sorted. Okay, no. So it is by default, it is not sorted. Your array list is not sorted. Hoping this is clear to you. Any questions? Understanding these characteristics. We'll speak all these characters with respect to each and every collection. How these characteristics works for a linked list, hash set, and other stuff. Okay. So if the things clear. Right, so this is about adding, right? So, and let's understand about the constructors. Okay, constructors. So array list, it has multiple constructors. Basically, constructors are overloaded in array list. Constructors are overloaded in array list. So this is what the default constructor, where I am not passing any, parameters. So this is the default array list. It is going to create empty list. It's going to create empty list with the no elements. That is what the default capacity empty element data. So it takes the default capacity and empty data. The default capacity is 10, so it is going to create 10 empty cells. Okay, so that is what one constructor. And what are the other constructors we have? So this is what array list of integer. Okay, initial capacity. So there are cases. Okay, you know that while you are accessing your data from the database, you know that the size. So the size written from the database is 100 or 1000. In such case, right, if you are sure that if you have that guarantee, then you create your array list with the size. Okay, so if you disconnected. Okay. Okay, so if you look at the constructors, okay, so if you are sure that the size of your array list, then it is recommendable to give the to specify the size, because it avoids that recreations. So for example, you have 100 elements. Okay, you have 100 elements. If you are creating your array list with the default size, okay, if you are creating with your default size, what will happen now? Initially 10, then as you have more elements, it's going to resize to 16. Again, it's going to resize to 25. From 25 to again, it is going to resize to 37. 25 plus 38. Again, 38 plus okay. So maybe uh, how much it is going to resize into by 2 plus 1, 38 plus by 2, 19, right? 38, 19 plus 1, 20, 58. Then 58, so half of the size, Okay, 29 plus 12, 30, 80. So 88. Then 88 plus again 44, 123 around. This is how it is going to stop because you have 100 elements. But how many swap, how many resize operations it is going to require? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 times it is going to resize means that's extra effort on your performance. That hits the performance. Okay. So that is what the better programming practice is. Okay. To specify the size, if you are clear, if you know the size of it. Otherwise, just leave it. If you are not clear about the size, then leave it. But if you don't, if you know the size, then give the size. That improves the performance. That improves the performance. That is where we have a constructor with the initial capacity. Okay, so what are the other constructors? Empty constructor, constructor with integer, then one more constructor I have. What is that? Array list of collections, meaning that so it is about something. You have a group of elements. Okay, so here you have a set. Okay, you have a set. So in this group you have elements 10, 20, and you have another group. Okay, you have another group where you have, okay, so certain elements 100, 200, 300, like that. Okay, now while creating my array list, okay, while creating my array list, so I have already um, now I'm going to create a new array list. Okay, I'm going to create a new array list. For this array list, so I'm going to add whatever I have already here, this particular data. So I'm going to add this particular group. I'm going to add this particular group to this, and I wanted to add this particular group to this. I wanted to add this particular group to this already. So this is the existing list. This is the existing list. I wanted to prepare my new list by combining these two lists. By combining these two lists. Hoping that you are getting it. Okay, so ultimately now I'm going to get these values in my new list, and I'm going to get this data into my new list. Okay, that is what this is what the new list that is created using the existing two lists. Okay, so that is where this constructor is going to help. Okay, this constructor is going to help. So here I have another list L1. So where I'm going to create new array list of the existing list L. I will pass it to this array list of L. L is what? These many elements. On top of it, so I have still more elements to add. Then you can take it out from here. So 100 I'm adding. Okay. So this is how it works. Now if you print L1, it will print all the elements of a list, and also it will print what? 100 also, because we have added 100 also. Right. So see the data. So whatever list I have everything you can see here, and apart from that you are having additional element 100. Okay, that's what about collections. Okay, constructors are also important. You will have to understand about the constructors part as well. All right. Okay, all right. If you observe one more thing here, this is accepting a collection type, not just a list. So meaning that you can add, if you have a set, you can add to that array list. If you have a linked list object, you can still create an array list from the linked list elements. So all the any object under the collection interface, you can pass as a parameter to this constructor. All right. So yeah, we'll continue tomorrow with the remaining understanding the remaining methods of array list, and also iterable. Okay, how to iterate through iterable, that portion we'll see tomorrow, and along with the linked list. Okay, so this collections part tomorrow and after tomorrow I will take. Then we'll get into set concept. I mean, list will finish it today and tomorrow, and then we'll start with the set. That takes 1 or 2 sessions. That is where we'll end up the collections portion, and we'll jump into maps. So map, hash map, okay, that mapping is also very important. Okay, right, guys. Okay, so I'll meet tomorrow.